Hey friends, welcome back to Dig It with Raven. I have some very exciting news for you guys today. My cousin, my eldest cousin, is pregnant. Like, whoa, it's a very, very exciting time in my family. She's the first of our generation, our cohort to produce an offspring. Congratulate her down in the comments below. But this announcement kind of got me thinking. Not about having children, because not right now, no thank you. And also just there's definitely no one knocking down my door to to try and impregnate me. Don't get me wrong, I'm very happy for my cousin. Love her to death. But anyways, I digress. The point of the story is, much like the toilet paper video that I put out last year, I know what people use for contraception now, but I was curious about what people in ancient times used for family planning, because I'm pretty sure that people wanted to do the dirty without bringing new life into this world in ancient times as well. So today we're talking about ancient birth control. I guess this is also kind of like my Valentine's Day video because of the time that it's coming out. So it's kind of a weird take on a Valentine's Day video, but hey, in the words of Marvin Gaye, let's get it on. Obviously, the most effective form of birth control is abstinence. And, well, in lockdown, that's pretty easy. But from an anthropological perspective, we know that never really works, does it? Humans are sexual beings by nature. We love getting it on like Donkey Kong, and we're one of the few species on the planet that roll in the hay for fun instead of solely for reproduction. So, of course, we're gonna wanna live our best lives and just get it on all the time. That being said, we all know the outcome of heterosexual intercourse if all of the timing lines up.
We'll get pregnant and die.
No, not that. I mean this.
I feel everything! Oh my god, it's happening!
And while the miracle of life is, well, a miracle, sometimes you just don't feel like performing a miracle and you want to do the no pants dance without any possibility of bringing a child into this world. And that is 100% your right. Now, you may think that contraception and controlling your reproductive capabilities is a new thing, especially with the whole birth control movement in the 1960s and all of the women that are still fighting for their reproductive rights today. But people have been finding ways of doing the horizontal hula while mitigating their chances of conceiving for thousands of years. Throughout history and all over the world, there have been phases of population increasing and decreasing, but it's actually not based on people's libidos. Everyone still has the same urges to bump uglies, but the population is dependent on societal values at the time. So if a population values larger families, more children will be born. But if it's the opposite, or if they don't need a larger family like that to maintain a society, birth rates are going to drop. Get it? And this isn't always controlled by just keeping it in your pants. People have gotten very creative over the years before the invention of modern contraception. That being said, I just want to put a very quick disclaimer in here saying please do not try any of the ones that I am mentioning at home. And if you have any questions about your own contraception use or family planning, please seek out the advice of a qualified medical professional. Don't ask me about anything, please. The first method of avoiding pregnancy other than abstinence is sort of an old faithful that is still used today, and I feel like I should mention it. I have to mention it because if I don't, I'm gonna get a lot of comments being like, oh, you missed the obvious one. I'm only going to mention the Latin name for this because I don't want to get flagged on YouTube, so we're just gonna call it coitus interruptus. So you know, it's doing the deed and then pulling yourself away dramatically like the Duke in Bridgerton in order to avoid any baby-making material from attaching itself to an egg. This is not the most effective form of birth control, and it definitely does not prevent STDs, but they do say that with proper use, it is about 80% effective. Fun fact, even though there is a Latin term for it, it's rarely mentioned in ancient Roman literature. Of course, just because it isn't mentioned doesn't mean they didn't do it. It might have just been that was such a common thing that no one really figured that it was worth mentioning. But now I want to get into the archaeological and historical stuff for you. Looking at the evidence that we have, it is known that the ancient world knew about contraceptives and they used them quite extensively. In Plato's Laws, he discussed the measures that could be taken in order to maintain population stability and said, "There are many devices available. If too many children are being born, there are measures to check propagation. He doesn't say what these measures are, but we have other sources to give us that information. Starting off in ancient Egypt, we have some interesting options. Luckily, we have two sources of papyri to give us examples of contraception from this era. The most famous one is the Kahun Gynecological Papyrus, dating from around 1850 CE. It's actually housed in the archaeological collection at my university at the moment, and if it weren't for lockdown, I would have tried to get access for you guys, but here we are. Fingers crossed, hopefully for a future episode for that. The papyrus does include several recipes for preventing pregnancy, but unfortunately, due to the preservation of the papyrus, none of the recipes are complete. Nevertheless, we are able to piece them together and get the gist of some of them, and I think this one takes the cake. It reads, for preventing pregnancy, crocodile dung chopped over hussa and awit liquid, sprinkle blank, lasts blank. The awit liquid is sour milk, and it's a little unclear what the hissa is, but it's thought to be some sort of like vegetable dough-like substance. So, crocodile dung, just crocodile dung, you guys. I have no words. Crocodile dung. Now, I've read a few different things as to how this might have been used. It's either that it was made into a pessary, which is sort of like a suppository, where you kind of make it into a paste or a goo, and you put it up there to prevent, act as a seal. The other one is to sprinkle it around your vulva in order to prevent sperm from entering. But I've also read that it might have been used as a fumigant, which would mean that you would set it on fire, and while it was burning and smoking, maybe not burning, but smoldering, the woman would stand over it and, fumigate her adult playtime parts. Fumigation has been used in many places and periods throughout history to aid in both conception and contraception, so it might have been a thing, It could have been that you just go and you stand over your crocodile dung and you're good for a little while. I don't know what the science or the thought behind it was. Like, was it maybe the smell that just detracted the sperm away from the area? According to some scientific thought, the alkaline nature of the poop would have killed the sperm, but according to other scientific thought, that the poop might have actually increased the pH of the vagina, which would therefore increase your ability to conceive. It actually might make you more fertile, which gives a whole new meaning for feces used as fertilizer. It's really hard to pin this kind of information down because I don't really see a lot of people willingly volunteering to partake in a study that would involve animal feces and your sensitive areas. There's another papyrus from ancient Egypt called the Ebers Papyrus, dating from around 1550 BCE, and this one and the Kahun Papyrus both mention the making of a pessary from a mix of acacia fruit, honey, and sometimes ground up dates. Then you soak lint made out of either cotton or plant fiber into the paste, and then you again, pop it up just like a tampon into your cervix to prevent sperm from getting up in there. And if we look at the science behind this one, something cool comes out of it. Recent research into acacia gum has actually proven it to work a little bit like a spermicide, and it's actually still used in some contraceptive jellies today. So, other birth control methods mentioned in these papyri were applying, quote, gummy substances to cover, quote, the mouth of the womb, which is the cervix, as well as a mixture of honey and sodium bicarbonate onto the vulva. Oh my god, the term honeypot suddenly has just so much more meaning to it. I don't know what to do with this video. I don't know why I'm making it, but here we are. I don't know what honey would do except make everything super sticky, but honey does have some antibacterial properties, so maybe they were thinking about it in that way. Maybe it has been used in medicine for a very long time all throughout the ancient world, so they were probably just using what they knew and applying it to different circumstances. Okay, let's move on over to ancient Greece and Rome, shall we? We have a lot of evidence of contraceptives from ancient Rome, all thanks to a guy named Soranus. He was born just before the 2nd century CE, and he can be considered the ancient world's foremost scholar on gynecology. 5 of his suppository or pessary recipes includes the peel or rind of pomegranate, which has been scientifically proven to affect fertility. This is why I love science. When they fed pomegranate to rats, they found that there were 28% fewer pregnancies than rats who weren't fed the fruit. And the same experiment was performed on guinea pigs, and none of them got pregnant at all whatsoever. That being said, the fertility did return about 40 days after they stopped eating the fruit. This is kind of funny because the pomegranate has a lot of connotations in mythology and folklore and the Bible. It's supposed to be like this sinful fruit, essentially. If you're familiar with Greek mythology, you will know the goddess Persephone or Demeter, the goddess of agriculture. Now, of course, there's different versions of the same tale all throughout Greek mythology, but essentially, she went down to the underworld, she ate some pomegranate, and because of that, she was doomed to spend half the year in the underworld and half the year in Olympus. And because of her, we have seasons. So when she's in Olympus, it's all very happy, fun times. The world is fertile, it's growing. We got spring, we got summer. And then when she's in the underworld with Hades, we get fall and winter. So some versions of the myth have said that the amount of pomegranate seeds that she ate determined the months of the time when the earth is infertile, essentially, fall and winter. Oh, I just love a good connection like that. I think my favorite method mentioned by Soranus was, I can't believe this was a thing, but sneezing. Soranus wrote that the female must hold her breath and draw herself away a little so that the seed may not be hurled too deep into the cavity of the uterus. And getting up immediately and squatting down, she should induce sneezing and carefully wipe the vagina all round. I mean, I know how powerful some sneezes are, but to expel everything, I don't know. How do you even force a sneeze like that? How do you even induce sneezing? Achoo! Achoo! It's not the same. Roman women were also known to use sponges dipped in vinegar, and we have a sponge today, so it's not too far-fetched, though please don't dip yours in vinegar. Just don't do it. There's also evidence that a sea sponge wrapped in silk was used by ancient Jewish women. Sea sponges are easy to come by, they're inexpensive, and they're probably very ergonomic and unobstructive when doing the deed. What seems to have been quite a popular method is the use of Silphium. Silphium was like a fennel type plant that was native to North Africa, and it only grew on a very small strip of land near Cyrene, which is in modern day Libya. Silphium was used more for cooking and eating, so its use as a contraceptive was not as well documented, and its effectiveness was probably just overhyped a little bit. But it may indeed have been used as an oral contraceptive in ancient Greece, Rome, Egypt, and the Near East. Apparently there was so much hype for this plant that it was worth its weight in silver by the 1st century CE, but by the 2nd century CE, it was pretty much extinct because of said hype. Women would use this as a natural contraceptive either by drinking a juice made out of the seeds or by soaking some wool in the juice and putting it up there to, I keep doing that noise, to use as a sort of like a pessary again as well to stop sperm from going up there. We don't know how effective Silphium was at preventing pregnancy, but there was a study done in 1985 using a plant that was very similar in the same kind of family as Silphium, and they gave it to rats orally, and it did prevent pregnancy, but then they tried it on hamsters and it didn't work. So other plants that were used at the time were Queen Anne's lace, which has been proven to have some post-coital anti-fertility properties and is still used in parts of India today. There was also willow, date palm, artemisia, myrrh, and rue, some of which are toxic, but there are apparently safe doses that are recorded in Greek documentation. And of course, all the philosophers always have to weigh in on their own thoughts of things, and Aristotle suggested the use of olive oil or cedar oil to slow the motility of the sperm. Women in India in the 1st century CE would dip cotton in a mixture of ghee, honey, and sometimes tree seeds. I also read that they used rock salt as spermicide. Ouch! The drying. Juniper berries apparently were also used. The physician Pedanius Dioscorides wrote in the 1st century CE that you should just mash up a bunch of juniper berries and have both the man and the woman just smear their private parts with it. I don't know how effective it was. The efficiency is very debated, but it actually may decrease the chances of implantation, so that's kind of cool. There are also some more dangerous ones, like drinking lead, mercury, or arsenic, or sometimes a mixture of all three, such as what happened sometimes in ancient China. Don't do that. This is all super scary stuff and really affects your health, so please stay away from that. Now, before we go, there's one more form of birth control that I want to talk about, because I know if I don't talk about it, I'm going to get a lot of questions in the comments, and it's a fun story anyway, so let's do it. We're going to talk about condoms. There's a lot of debate still whether ancient civilizations actually used condoms. You can tell from the methods that I've been saying to you that birth control pretty much fell as the woman's responsibility, which is still a big thing today, which sucks because it's an equal thing. It takes two to tango, you guys. But it does seem that condoms were probably not used in the ancient world. And if they were, we don't really have a lot of evidence for it. There's this one legend of King Minos who apparently had this cursed semen that would have, scorpions and snakes coming out of it, which is just so horrifying. In order to contain that, he used a goat's bladder as a female condom. So not a male condom, a female condom. So again, that's just a mythology. We do have, very sparse evidence of loincloths that were just sort of just sheaths for the bratwurst, essentially. Again, there's no evidence that it was actually used during intercourse. If anyone has been to the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, you might have went and visited all of King Tut's treasures, but what you might not have noticed is that there is a condom on display within King Tut's treasures. There's a little linen sheath with some ties around it, and it is displayed and marked as a condom, but again, there's no evidence that it was used as such. It might have also just been used as a sanitary measure, a protective covering. So I wouldn't go and say that, yes, the ancient Egyptians had condoms, but it's a fun little story and it's a fun artifact. And really no one thinks about that when they think of King Tut's treasures, so there's a fun little anecdote, a fun fact for you to share at your next party. The condom was named after the physician Dr. Condom, who served in Charles II's court. And the condom was extensively used by the oh-so-famous lover boy Casanova, who liked to call it an English riding coat, which I think is amazing. And I think that term needs to come back. We need to start calling them English riding coats more, because it just makes life a little bit more colorful, and that's what we need in 2021. The condom was not a popular commercialized form of birth control though until the vulcanization of rubber in 1844. So even though it's still not as old as some of the other ones that I was talking about, the condom has been around for quite some time. So there you have it, friends, some forms of ancient birth control. I know there are some more, especially in the medieval era and as we go throughout history further into the recent past, but I'm an ancient history person, so we're gonna keep it in the ancient history today. If you do want a part 2 and you want to go know more about, historic forms of birth control, I'm very happy to do so. Just let me know in the comments down below. As I said before, please do not try any of these at home. And if you need any advice or you have any questions about your own family planning, please consult a medical professional. If you like that video, go ahead and smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you like the channel, you like what I do, you want to support it, head on over to Patreon and become a patron. You get early access to all of my videos. You get a say in what I get to put out next, and you might even get your name on the screen right here. Here are all my socials, and in the spirit of Valentine's Day, wrap it before you tap it, glove it before you love it, and as always, stay dirty, my friends.